As you can see, the shed's not done still. It's the week before Christmas 2020. So I've had to take these poly totes and cut them and use them for tarps. I'm gonna try that. I'm not too far off from getting the roof on, and we've got a few more days of good weather this week before we get a chance for rain and snow. But as you can see up here, I'm blocking in the sections between the rafters with about 1 foot of plywood. And then about the middle of every pen, I'm actually going to do wire for ventilation. And I'll put a plywood panel on the inside that I can adjust. I've got one down here you'll be able to see. And then I've got my 1x started coming down here. I'll have to put another 2x4 on top of that up there so that the steel will all be the same height. It's going to be 14 foot of steel for the roof, which is going to be out of this pile over here. Hopefully there's enough steel in there, but it's a mix and match pile anyway. So between that and some of the other steel I've got laying around, I should be able to make a roof. Back wall, doing the same thing with the plywood here. I've already put my first 1x up on this end. So I've got to do 2 lines of 2x's here. One is going to go flush with that, and then the other one's going to go flush with where the plywood is. I got to put one piece of plywood in here yet. Once I get all the 2x4s running across the rafters there, I'll be able to cut me a piece of plywood to fill in the gaps. I'm also going to put 2x4s in between on top of that 2x8, so I've got something solid to nail to. Here's the mess. Basically, these 2x4s are what the steel will screw down to. So that's why they're running across in lines like this. And you can see these diagonal boards coming up out of there. I got to cut them off. All they are braces, kind of like this one here. I decided to do that, and then if I have any lumber left over, I'm going to do the same thing on the back wall. Main priority right now is to get this thing roofed. You know, I don't really want the birds running together inside of there, but you know, if I have a bad enough blizzard, I at least have the option of getting them in out of it. I've got 4 doors cut in the walls. Eventually there will be 10 doors. And they latch shut on the inside. This beam's got to go yet. And then basically every treated beam is a divide. So there's going to be 10 sections in here. Be all the way down through, and it'll basically mimic the outside where it'll be steel on the bottom and wire up to the ceiling. You can see the wood up there like that, and there's the plywood. I had to cut these little pieces of 2x just to give the plywood something to tack on to. Eventually I'm going to come back through and take that plywood off, because right now it's just hanging over top of the existing plywood, and what I want to do is cut it so that when I screw it in, it's flush. That way when I eventually put steel on this building, it'll be nice and flush and even. So yeah, lots of little scraps of wood everywhere in here that need to be picked up, but as long as I beat the snow, that's the important thing. They're talking snow here in about 2 or 3 days, but it's only supposed to be 1 inch, and then I think it's supposed to warm up again for just a minute, and then I don't think we're supposed to have another chance of snow for like a week. So that will be nice. We left the old hydrant in here. I don't know if I want to get it working again. It'd be kind of nice because then it'd be inside here where there's body heat and it wouldn't freeze. The door would be right here, so you could run a hose. I'm going to eventually put wire doors so that in the summertime we can open this up and it can be nice and breezy if we want. But maybe I won't have to. You know, this thing's going to continue to evolve after I get it done. Anyway, both of the end walls are going to get windows in them, 2 windows. So that's why there's only 2 2x4s instead of 4, because I'm going to basically tack my windows up and then I'm going to put the 2x in accordingly to that, just so that it works out. Ideally you want them 2 inches on center, but you know, whatever, I'm going to, you know, make it work. And let's see what else. Basically, every time there's a divide wall, so like right here, you can see it's in the middle of these 2 rafters. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to screw 2x4s up along here, and then in between all of these purlins, I believe they're called. I'm drawing a blank, I'm very exhausted today. So that I have something to screw my wire to, or staple my wire to. I decided to beef up the bottom of the front wall. Originally it was just a single 2x on the first 2 sections there, and basically I'll come in with some really long wood screws and I'll screw them in and suck those 2 pieces of wood together. And I went ahead and did treated too, so that, you know, if that front board rots out faster, at least it's got something behind it. And eventually I'll probably have to replace them and do it the right way. This section here, I still need to move this door over to the middle. I'm not too worried about that right now. And that's why, again, this section is missing 2 2x4s. But other than that, I've really only got to put in 6 uprights yet, 9 divide walls. The additional back wall doors I'm probably not going to worry about for the winter. It all depends, because basically I'm going to come in and, based on how I've got things divided now, I probably won't put this divide wall in, but I'll probably put this divide wall in, and then probably not this one, probably not this one. I think I'll go all the way up to this one here before I put in another one. And then it won't be, there'll be 2 missing here for now, and then the last one will go in down there, separate the bantams. That way I've got a door into each section without having to take time to cut more doors in. Speaking of cutting doors in, the bantams need a door cut in, which once I get the roof on I will do. And eventually I'm kind of going back and forth on where I want to cut the chicken door, because obviously in the middle of winter you don't want your walk door wide open, because I'm not going to have those big old tarps there forever. But I'm kind of leaning towards putting them off to the latch side and just have a drop-in door for the birds to get in and out. And then obviously in the summer, if it gets real hot in here, I'll just swing open the big door, leave it open. The dividers will be corrugated steel along the bottom, and then chicken wire up to the ceiling. And I'm kind of debating on going back and forth of putting a walk door down through the middle of all of these. But I feel like I've got enough doors in here that I honestly don't need 9 more, because I can come in straight from the outside, straight through to the pen, and then if I need to get to the other pen, I've got the outside door that goes from run to run. I might do a small drop door or something here just for sorting purposes, maybe, you know, because it'll be nicer to sort inside the shed than it will be to sort outside the shed. Each section, eventually I'm going to put fold down roosts. That'll be 4 foot wide approximately. I'll hinge them up high, and then I'll put a pulley off the rafter, and then when I want to clean in here, I can just pull it all the way up to the rafters. Or, you know, if I've got young birds in here that I don't want roosting, because, you know, if I don't want to risk them damaging their breastbone, making them crooked, I'll just pull it up out of there, and then they can't use it. Like I said, there'll be 2 windows on this wall. I might probably put I'll probably put feeders in here, and I'll keep the waterers outside. And then on the front-facing wall, I may put more roosts and maybe some nests. So we'll see how that goes. Be real interesting to see just how much daylight really gets let in here once I have the roof on. So as you notice, I've got that stub wall up there, and the reason that happened is I changed the design of the roof on the recommendation of a friend of mine who's much more skilled than I am. So originally I was going to have a pitch roof where it has a big peak in the middle, and instead we went with this lean-to style roof with the overhang. And if you have seen some of my videos, you know that I have a steel covered walkway along the face of these pens. And so what the idea is, with this overhang, we hope that it will help to shade the steel partially so that it won't get as hot in the summer, and it will also help to shade the plastic, so that'll help to keep the heat down but still let some passive light in. And then during the winter, when the sun's lower in the sky, we should get more direct light. That is the theory. We'll know once it's complete if it was a good theory or not.